Here we are, episode 8.
Yep. We were thinking that we better do an actual introduction, kind of, because typically we just kind of ease into the conversation, and like I just said 2 minutes ago, which I think is still going to make the episode, I'm not going to lie, is our audience deserves a welcome back because we got some reliable fans out there.
If you've been listening this long, I feel like by episode 8 we should have figured it out by now. So welcome.
So
we
far
appreciate
it's felt very
you.
natural though, I'd say.
I think so. Yeah.
If anything, this was the least natural one because we're trying so hard.
Guaranteed.
But yeah, so I'm really excited for this episode. I think this was so fun to go back
for.
And prepare for, and I'm really stoked.
Me too. It put me in a good mood to do all the prep work for this, and I always love doing our prep work, but this one specifically was really fun. So I'm excited to dive in and share with everybody. What are we even talking about today?
Yeah, I know I'm doing all this backstory, but I do want to say one more thing that I prefer to listen to music in this way. This is when I'm winding down, I always like to listen to music in this way.
Cool.
So
with that being said,
yeah. So this episode is I also love how we came to this episode. Sometimes we've decided that we're going to sit down, and instead of trying to run away from ideas for new episodes, we were like, okay, let's stare at each other for an hour until we get one.
so true.
Right?
It's so true.
And we're really just spitballing the most random things sometimes. And,
it's we have to just start speaking gibberish until we get to something that's yep, stay there. And then we go in a different direction. And
we typically
somehow
wind up really excited about what we're choosing.
Yeah. And even this one specifically, we were like, okay, let's think of a backup. And we couldn't. So that's probably a good sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why don't let us know what this is all about.
Our topic today, we wanted to talk about some of our favorite live performances or live sessions that we've come across on YouTube over the years. And similarly to our previous episodes where we chatted about our favorite songs, we wanted to go in a different direction because I think live performances have such a different feel in general, and it can give you a completely different taste of what the artist is capable of. And even sometimes they can turn out better, sometimes they're worse. So it can really depend on your taste. But I think that's the direction we wanted to go in. Was we ended up picking 3 live sessions each that we both really love and come back to on YouTube all the time. And we're going to kind of hash them out and share some of our favorite aspects. And I mean, part of it we kind of have decided on together too. It's not really as much of a surprise this time, but that's where we're going today.
Yeah, I think that also kind of leveled us up just a little bit, because when we were talking about 10 of our favorite songs and we hadn't heard some of the songs that we were listening to,
there's only so much back and forth that you can do in conversation about a song you haven't heard before. And
I was actually a little intimidated by the research aspect of this episode, because I thought, this is funny that all of mine are over an hour and yours collectively is an hour.
I know. And
so your research was definitely heavier than mine, I think.
Luckily I had already watched one before. We both equally love one, and you had already put me on to one of them beforehand, so I'd done about half of the work that I needed to. Yeah. But almost that kind of intimidated me, because I was like, oh, should I have picked something longer? Should I have picked something more in depth? Is mine good? Are mine good enough? It's so funny how you can quickly get into a spiral of comparison. Meanwhile, it doesn't matter at all. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think when I chose mine, I wanted to learn from the last time, because I think I left out a lot of music that I really love that probably deserved to be my top 10, but
we'll come back.
Yeah. But this, I was like, okay, I'm going to choose these 3 and I'm going to commit to them because I don't know. I think these deserve a place regardless. So whether or not these are my favorite is
I
who
think
knows, but
favorite is such a, actually, I know I said that before, but I think favorite is like kind of an umbrella, because tomorrow I could have picked three different things. I think it just depends on what mood you're in a little bit, and
yeah.
there's so many categories you can go into and kind of breaking things down, so it's really hard to pick my top favorite. These are just three performances that I love and I go back to and stand out for me, and I just want to highlight the artist at the same time also. Like, that's kind of part of it too.
And to be fair, we did call that last episode funeral playlist, so there was a lot of weight.
There was some pressure.
Songs. So I don't know, you just throw things out there. Because of the pressure, I guess. Like,
it's so true.
Gotta choose the right ones, and then
I'm like lying awake at night thinking about the songs I left out.
Yeah,
it's true.
Cool. Do you want to kick us off? Hopefully you're in the same order that you wrote them. Not that that's not much of a big deal, but
that's a great question. I will go back to our notes. So, okay, my first one that I picked was Alicia Keys in Paris, and okay, let me get into it. Let me think about what I'm going to say quickly. But well, first I want to say, with my three people, it's Black History Month, and so what a shocker! I picked three amazingly talented Black artists. Like, not hard for me to do, but I just wanted to preface that too. But so yeah, Alicia Keys in Paris is my first performance, and I'm going to shout out my friend Maddie, who put me onto this a couple years ago. I love Alicia Keys just in general. Before I even dive into this, she's one of my goats for sure. Yeah, I've always loved her. She's given me hair inspiration when I was a kid. I had cornrows. I read her memoir. I saw her in concert this year. It was like a last minute concert. I decided the day of that I was going to, it was at the Scotiabank Arena. Like, it was huge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I bought, I think it was like $40 for the nosebleeds seats, and someone had come into my work, and I'm like, oh, what do you have going on for the rest of the day? And she said, oh, I'm going to see Alicia Keys. I'm so excited. I said, what? You're going, she's here?
Isn't it weird how those things aren't advertised very well? Like,
it's crazy.
Some of my favorite artists have passed through, and I never even
Yes. Yeah. But Spotify lets me know about some random person that I don't listen to. And
yeah.
Anyways, I went home at 5:00, bought a ticket, drove down to the city, saw her. It was the best. It was so good. But going back to the video, so this is, I would say I would describe it as like the most warm and inviting. It feels
give us a background on what.
Okay.
It's in Paris, but
it's in Paris.
But
I don't know the exact location.
I feel like there's a specific person that kind of does these this style of video.
That's a good question.
I think I know. It's like a takeaway show is what it's called, and there's all these different artists that get featured on it. But I'll let you continue.
No, it's okay. I'd be glad if you did have more information on that, because I don't. But
I've seen a few of them. That's why.
Okay.
There's some artists, and it's a huge spectrum of different artists that have been on this. And I think it's Paris based. It's
at that location. No, or just in different locations.
Film crew and the channel itself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was actually a series based kind of thing, but that would make more sense, because the videography specifically is so intentional and really beautifully done. I would describe it as like, once you turn it on, it feels like you just stumbled upon a little basement, like speakeasy or something, and you just walked in, and all of a sudden she's performing, and there's just a small group of people. There's a couple celebrities, like Cara Delevingne is in the crowd.
I was wondering if that's
and I'm like, okay, clearly they got a VIP invite. I wish I was a part of this. It just is the most intimate experience, it looks like. And yeah, I would say based on that, like, that's kind of the setting. It's really warm, really inviting. And the mood lighting is there, like the crowd, the energy is very speakeasy vibes. And so she begins, a couple of the songs are from her like newer album at the time, which was, I think it was called Keys.
What year was this, do you know?
I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, so like 2019.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I think it's 4 years ago. So 2019, 2020. Yeah, and she just put out another solo album. What stood out for me was like the bass and the double bass player. Those were so cool to me. It really set a mood. If you want to jump in at any point, also do so. Like, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah,
I
I have a bunch of things that I've kind of noticed about it. But specifically like that, I really love this like stripped back thing that she's doing. And on a lot of the, like something like these pop songs that seem like they could only survive with drums and guitar or whatever
Huge beat,
else. Yeah. It's just a bass. It's just the Rhodes keyboard. And it's like, I don't know. Somehow, because you're still bopping your head. You're bopping your head as if there were drums, which is incredible to me. I think that was like a very special feeling.
She's setting like, I don't know, the way that she's moving is almost like as if she's setting the drums. Like I can feel her moving and it's giving that kind of energy. And even the keyboard, like that's different for her with her like usually being on a standard piano. But something about it is really different, but great. I love it.
Very famous electric piano called the Fender Rhodes. I
don't
know if you knew that, but it's one of my favorite instruments aside from the guitar. I think a lot of Frank Ocean's songs have been written on the Fender Rhodes.
Really?
It's a highly sought after piece of equipment. Like it's hard to get and it's very expensive because of how rare it is, basically.
Wow. Yeah.
So hearing that, and like you just said about how she's typically on a grand piano.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just keeps giving the warm,
totally the fuzzy feeling.
Bass, the upright bass is like
insane.
What an amazing decision and fearless, really. I think.
It is. And like she lets him shine in so many spots. There's so many silences that I really love, like just like the silences and then the crowd murmuring, like it feels like you're watching it feels like you're watching a movie, to be honest, to me. And then like I'm so impressed with the projection of her vocals and like her rasp just comes through. I don't know, there's something about it that's really like, and she just embodies swag in everything she does. So it's just like a pleasure to watch her in that way. There's
another person on your list that embodies swag.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yep. Agreed.
But yeah, it's funny. The first song, I was a little, I wasn't fully there on the first song.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't really know what to expect here. I realized that my speakers were like, I wasn't getting all the information from the sound.
No way.
So I adjusted everything and then I listened again and I'm like, okay, this is really amazing.
Yeah.
And the way they're able to mix with such simple, like it's harder to mix those simple things than it is to mix like heavy things, right?
Yeah. But when you're just relying on those few aspects of the song, they really have to shine.
Right. And then it really brings out the natural talent too, because any little mistake or you'll hear it, right?
Absolutely. The beginning starts off pretty slow, but I think it's like I really love it.
The skeeps and the bops for me.
Like she's just scatting. She's I don't know.
I don't know if I was feeling that.
Oh, I was loving it, but like
that's
you
fair.
could. She's just like I don't know. I feel like she's like sensing the space and kind of getting
jazzy. It was a jazzy kind of thing, yeah.
And also like getting her bearings a little bit and kind of feeling what the crowd's into, and it builds from there in a way.
I have that written down as well. That imagine being in front of all those people in such a vulnerable musical space, where literally every mistake you make will be documented and heard in this quiet room. So for her to be a little bit nervous is very possible, right? So
maybe she doesn't show it very, very much, but
no, she doesn't, because she leans into it, right?
Yeah.
But it just progressively gets better as the session goes on.
Yeah. My favorite song that she does was In Common, which is
I loved it.
The last one, or is it the second last one?
I can't remember.
I think it's the second last one, but that song specifically in that performance is to me better than the album version, big time, because it's stripped back. Like when I I discovered that before I discovered her album. So then I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to go listen to this song. And it was completely different. It's like a pop kind of radio hit. And I was so heartbroken because literally you can see in the comments section, and literally one of the comments is me from like 4 years ago. Like, I need this to be released. Like, where is that In Common version? Because it's so much better.
It is. I think so many of the songs that even I chose, or sessions that I chose, most of them I prefer these performances over the recordings.
I agree.
It just, when you've seen the video and now you can hear the audio in a different setting, you are transported back to what you visually saw. So it's
you can't get rid of it, and you're expecting that level too. So it just doesn't satisfy you the same way.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you loved it.
Absolutely. I was like rocking heavy. It was so good. I was blown away that I could feel so much in terms of rhythm with no drums.
Not a single drum.
not a single drum.
Not a single drum to be found.
There were some taps. I know there were some taps.
There was beat. There was still beat, but it was not.
I love that. Not a single drum.
Nowhere to be found.
Not a single drape inside.
Nowhere to be found.
So I guess my first pick is, it's one that it's on repeat all the time, but for some reason I can't always really get into it as much as I would like to when I'm just hearing it. But when I watch it, there's like a light show going on that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So Bon Iver, his name is Justin Vernon, if people don't know, but
I didn't know.
I don't know if he calls his band Bon Iver or if he calls
that's his music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it's his stage name or if it's the whole band's name.
Yeah.
I feel like it's his stage name.
Yeah, it's definitely a stage name. I just don't know if he's like, whatever it is. Justin
like it's not the group. I think it's him.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're right, because he does like acoustic stuff. That's just his voice
all the time.
Oh man. So NPR teamed up with, I guess, this what would you call it? Like it's a creative space in Brooklyn called Pioneer Works, and it used to be like an ironworks warehouse in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Or late 1800s, and
now it's a venue.
Yeah, it's a venue, but it's I don't know if they use it as much as a venue or as much for a venue. It's more like just like a creative space where very smart people will come together and, work on things that they think matter to the world, right?
Okay.
And so there are scientists from all over the place and things like that, along with creative people.
Wow.
But yeah, so there's something about, and I don't know if he's promoting this or if he has any affiliation to the space at all, but it feels like that collaboration really works because of who he is. And he had this album that came out in 2016, 22 A Million, which is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And I think what is it about this album? Like, to have this album turn into a live thing kind of showed me how a digital album could be very could move me in an analog way as well, but he starts with like this horse galloping, so there's like that's how I perceive it. That noise that you hear at the very beginning of the album? It's like a horse galloping, right?
I think that's what I would say. Yeah.
So it's like very intrusive. It's like hard to, if you're a Bon Iver fan before that, hearing this noise is like, what am I about to sign up for here? Because it's pretty aggressive.
It's true.
But you'll see throughout it's a concert. It's not a session.
I was going to say, yeah, it's just a full live concert.
And there's my list is just concerts. They are not sessions, and I apologize for that. I think
session implies in my mind, period of time.
Yeah.
Invested.
And I sit down and I listen to these friggin' things. I'm like, it is a session to me. I sit there and I don't move for an hour.
Yeah, it was a movie.
Yeah. But he kind of goes through this roller coaster of emotions in this album, really. And he does strip some things back, and a lot of his acoustic songs, I think they shine in this space a lot. And, you know, you can tell the audience is very much absorbing so much of what's going on. They're like quiet in the quiet parts, which, you know, I guess that's just a typical thing that you would see at a concert when quiet songs are on. But I feel like people are absorbing the songs heavily. But there's this song that has stood out to me since that album came out called Creeks. Do you remember that song?
Not specifically from the performance, but I've heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically he's using it's not totally clear on the video whether he's using a synth or he's using some kind of like computer software to do this, but he's using something called a vocoder, which is he's playing the chords but singing at the same time so that the chords reflect the sounds
so they
that
change.
he's making. Yeah. And it's really technically difficult to do, along with being pretty complicated on a software side. But again, it's this kind of stripped back song already, but to have this contrast of like digital, but make it feel so emotional and powerful. I think it's the most powerful song on the album. There's no drums. He's kind of going at his own pace, so there's not really a huge tempo, you know, consistency. But it's, I don't know, I almost like come to tears every time I hear this song because it's just, I don't know, it feels like his strongest song to me. And
that's what I felt the entire time was like, this is powerful. It was really like you could just feel the emotion coming from also not just him, but the entire band. It was really emotional for all of them. You could tell like the drummer was vibing, like, and then at some points he was like really emotional. And
there's actually two drummers. Did you notice that?
Okay. No.
Yes. So it seems like they're kind of swapping percussion parts in different songs, but sometimes they'll double the drums, and that's what gives you a huge, like, you know.
Yeah, in your chest.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Sorry,
so
I cut
cool.
you off there.
No, that's all I was going to say was just the power was really, I had never watched him perform live before. And so it was really cool. Like his voice was much more impressive to me. It's different when you watch someone sing than when you just hear in your headphones and you're trying to kind of like picture, but watching him sing was a lot different. And like you could feel the power coming from him and like all of the emotions and everything. Also the visuals, like, it was an hour long, so, you know, I had to get up at some point. But when I would get up, I would kind of tune out and not enjoy it as much. But when I came back, like you said, the visuals and the background, it was more of an immersive experience that way. That's what I found.
Yeah, there's something about, because he's multi-talented. He has all these different instruments that he plays throughout the show. I really love the horns. There's like these horns that come in. That's my biggest note. And again, I'm going to stress this because I think it's really difficult to have something so digital and bring it to an analog setting and make it work and make it so strong. It's clearly a very fleshed out show. So maybe it's not fair to call it a session again, you know, like we're comparing in some way. I guess they all kind of feel like the same thing to me. But yeah, he has like this fearless falsetto that he does with his voice that has been like a trademark of his for so long. Yeah. And, you know, I think if you were hearing that falsetto for the first time, imagine one of your friends is doing like the,
yeah,
you know,
it's true.
You'd be like, this guy isn't a good singer.
Yeah. You're like, what are you doing?
But what he does is, I don't know how he's made it this way, but he's fearless in that aspect of his voice. And I think that's kind of admirable that he's stuck by that for so long.
It's true. My biggest note was the horn section too. Like that was beautiful when the saxophones came in and like the one song, it was 8 Circle again that I really enjoyed the most. And it, like when the horns came in, it was so beautiful. I was like cranking it. I love this. It was so
I'm happy that you did because again, it's like one of those ones that I literally cannot stop listening to this album. And then to hear it so many of those songs in this performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
and also
blessing.
like beyond just the album too, because it's still not quite what I would go to every day, but the entire performance was beautiful and I loved it. So it's fun to get out of your comfort zone that way, for me anyways.
Absolutely.
But even going back beyond the album, like the throwbacks, when Creature Fear came on, I was like, and Beach Baby, those are two of my favorites from high school. So I was so excited. And that version of Creature Fear, I wish I could download that somehow, because he was in a different key, and I loved that it was like a lower key that you could kind of sing along to easier. And it just, I don't know, it was less of that, like maybe that falsetto that you're talking about, where it's like just quite too high where you can't really even sing the chorus. But because he was slightly lower,
you're saying the recording?
Yeah, in the recording versus the performance was slightly lower, and so it sounded nicer to me. And then they went on this big I don't know, there was just like an instrumental like an instrumental period where it all got really intense and loud, and I really loved it. And then Beach Baby is just a special song for me too, so I loved that version of it. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Can you sing me a bar of Beach Baby and remind me what it is?
It's like wow, wow. I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not gonna sing it, but it's like like I'm not even.
It's so close. Oh yeah. I got you.
I'm not gonna sing. Not on this pod.
It's not.
No, it's like,
that's Calgary.
Yeah, represent. Yeah. Also that song too is good. Yeah.
There's so much more to be said about it, but I think we've covered a lot of good bases on that, and
it's true.
Overall, bless your soul, Bon Iver. I love how he's like taken a lot of things that he learned from Kanye with the like he worked with him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, they did work together.
And after they worked together, his music went in a completely different direction, which I think was for the good.
It's true.
He started experimenting, and
it was less of the like more standard kind of alternative folky kind of sound, and more experimental that way.
And you can get tired of that, right? Playing it, listening to it, we all get a little bit tired. So
just like playing acoustic guitar in every song. Yeah, as an artist, I would get bored.
Right, and everybody's freaking out about songs that everybody needs to be quiet for. So like, if they're all singing at the top of their lungs, maybe the show just turns out to be a little different than you imagined it, right?
Yeah. Very true. Okay.
Right. Number two?
Number two was, I wasn't sure what you were going to think of this because it was kind of funny to me, but it was a last minute switch. And so.
Oh, it's a last minute switch.
No, it was a last minute switch. Like you watched the right one, but
okay, gotcha.
It wasn't what I had initially told you when we were planning this episode. So I watched a couple of years ago. I think it's like 4 years old now. Yeah, because I was like in second year university when I was watching this. So there's this show on Netflix called Rhythm and Flow. And I think they've done multiple seasons now, but I watched the very first season when it came out. And it's basically for amateur rappers. It's a contest show where they start off with a bunch of them and then people get kicked off the island every week. And like
island? Is it on an island?
No, I'm just like referencing.
Okay, I was just making sure. Love
Island. I'm just like referencing.
Sorry, I should have been there with you. But
this week on the villa. Yeah, like you're just I think it's in LA or something. But no, you couldn't
I'm like, they did this in the Bahamas.
It's on an island. It's tropical. No. Anyways,
I've seen the first season of this show. Like,
okay,
I also watched it. I just wasn't sure if I remembered correctly about where it was. How many years ago was that?
Like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's so funny. The hosts like kill me. It's a
legendary lineup.
So such a good lineup. It's Chance the Rapper and T.I. and then Cardi B, which is just so funny. Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah, this one had a bit of a backstory because I watched Rhythm and Flow when it came out, and then it was I was, as soon as the first episode came and D-Smoke like did his audition, I was just immediately rooting for him so hard. He stood out to me right away because he was kind of the only one whose lyricism really stood out right away, and he had like a flow about him and a swag for sure, that, and just kind of like a confidence. Like he knew he went in still as an amateur, and like the growth is so cool to watch over, I think it's like 10 episodes maybe, but he did come in with like a maturity. I think he was also just older in general, whereas a lot of the younger people had like a more kind of money hungry and like young. I think he win $250,000, so like it's a pretty decent amount of money. But like he had the most authenticity, so he's in the finale with two other people, and I think he goes first in the episode. And it was, to me, it was like a jaw-dropping performance, because when you're just rooting for someone from the beginning and you see their final product, he also had a couple performances I remember where he like completely forgot the words halfway through and just like stood there on stage. Like, no, so the growth was really awesome, and I was just so
redemption
proud.
At the end, kind of.
It's a big redemption. So yeah, this to me was like a jaw-dropping performance, and I think it's almost different watching it from Netflix. I think the camera angles are slightly different. And I think on the YouTube video, they pan to the audience more, and it kind of takes away from watching him perform. But
yeah,
if I remember correctly,
more, like,
yeah,
for the short
the views and
span.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, in the episode, it's much more focused on him. So, anyways, but he's such like a multi-talented artist. One of the things that stood out was that he didn't. So he starts with like a piano ballad in the beginning, and nobody knew that he could play the piano until that final performance. So that was like a talent that he kept hidden. So by the end, they're like, "Yo, like what? Like didn't know you could play the piano." So that's,
it's almost like he did like this all-in mentality where he's like, "I'm gonna make sure there's a dance. I'm gonna make sure there's he left a story."
Nothing.
It was no joke. I think he really. To do that on a Netflix show would be terrifying.
Yes.
And especially if he hadn't brought out the piano yet, and now he's bringing it on the last episode. That is a fearless move.
Bro, imagine like leaving that amazing skill out. I guess it just didn't have its chance to shine yet, but like they gave you complete like creative freedom. He designed the entire set, the whole background dance, everything start to finish. Yeah. So it's basically
something
like
you'd see from like an A-list artist.
Totally. Yeah. So it's basically like 3 segments in one song, like 3 different beats completely. He does a full switch multiple times and like effortlessly. It looks so good. He's also bilingual, and like he can speak Spanish, but not only can he speak Spanish, he can rap in Spanish. And then not only that, like he can rap in English and Spanish and make them both rhyme and make them both make sense. So he was my favorite. Like, it's wild. I love D-Smoke.
It was amazing to revisit that, I think.
Yeah, and I just realized I went the entire time and didn't say what it is. So it's so the performance is D-Smoke, and this song is called The Last Supper. And
I think you did a good job kind of backing it up anyway.
But it's the finale of Rhythm and Flow, and he wins, like, spoiler alert, he wins. He's also getting bigger every single day. He's kind of big now, but there's so much symbolism and metaphor, and like he has such a Kendrick-like swag that I admire, and I don't know. I absolutely loved it, and I go back to watch that episode all the time because I'm just so proud of him. And yeah, my favorite line is when he's like, "Pass the blunt like communion. I know we're friends, but Jesus was homies with Judas," and like everybody goes crazy. It's so good.
Yeah, that's fire. I think I don't know. I just think when he pulls that out at the very end of the show, it's like it's the real deal. He's trying to prove himself. Like
you can tell, like he was giving everything he had. It pans to his mom at one point. Like it's so you can tell he's just giving literally everything he has, and yeah, he's proud of it too. Like his ego and his confidence is building, and like it's cool to watch. It's a great song.
The only other thing I noted about him was that I want to hear more of his stuff because
I would recommend.
I'm curious about. I don't know how he's grown since then.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's grown quite a bit. He's I think he was at the Grammys this year. Like, he's putting out stuff consistently, and there's a couple songs I can send you that I really liked by him. Yeah. But I'm so it was really cool to watch like a contest kind of game show and see someone that you actually really root for, because most of the time it's like everybody's lame, or like I don't know, but
he seems like a really
person.
cool show. You said they did more seasons of it?
I think so. Which I would like to watch now, because it was actually really fun to watch. Like they gave them cool challenges, and like,
well, this is at the core of Chance the Rapper's career, and like we were not core, but at the prime, I would say. And
would you say it's the prime?
Well,
I would not say it's the prime, actually.
At the height of his popularity.
I think I would disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I would think he's like, I would say that he's like trying to like salvage a little bit.
I don't know. I'm thinking like Holy, Justin Bieber. Like,
I guess. But
like
is that...
I'm just saying in terms of like achievements and how far he went, you know.
Sure. Okay, like maybe he's at the top after accomplishing some of his best work.
Yeah.
And he's like sitting at the top.
Musically, I don't think this was his prime, but his life was probably like he was prospering, and
he's extremely successful now. Yeah. I see where you're headed with that. And then T.I. is like the not old, but like, you know, the wisdom kind of like, and then Cardi is the culture and the pop culture.
Yeah. But I was totally there for Chance's takes on things. I wanted to hear how he was like, I don't know.
I agree.
I really looked up to him at that time. So
me too. Yeah. He stays always authentic. And so you could always rely on him for like a true take. When I was watching the show, like some of them are like, the beat's hard, whatever. And he's like, okay, but are you like putting out your best work? He was always encouraging them.
Yeah.
So that's my second pick. D Smoke.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
We got another long one.
We do.
Long ones.
We do.
So I had discovered this band, I want to say in like 2019, 2018, and probably 2019, right before COVID. And this came out, or actually they recorded this before COVID, but it released during. So I would say that added to my love for it, because, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's something to come back to when
you
we're
needed
all bored.
Something.
Yeah. So we have Parcels Live Volume 1.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a combination of all the things they've made up until this point. So it's not one particular album. I'm sure there are like pieces of it that are mostly their most recent album at the time, which I wish I could remember, but
it's okay.
Overnight was kind of the hit at that point. They had worked with Daft Punk on that album, or not that album, that song. I was going to say record because it sounds cooler.
Yeah.
And I think when Daft Punk started to believe in them a little bit is when they started to take off more. But I have some backstory on the band themselves, because I think it's really interesting that they were born in Australia. They formed the band there and moved everything to Germany, which was a very techno type of environment, and they thought they should kind of lean into that. But then I think what I understand is that they wanted to level up or they had this revelation that they needed to level up their instrumental abilities, you could say, I guess, or just their musical abilities,
skill set.
Yeah. So they started doing a lot of these like popular songs, but then having a really long stretch of like instrumental. You know, when you you're at a concert and they like really
just go off.
Down on their, and sometimes there's solos happening, sometimes all that stuff. And they started to lean into this part of their performances, and that's where they started to take off, because now their musical abilities were shining, right?
Totally.
They also have this like Beatles type of vibe when you look at them.
That's that's one of my notes. Is like, are we embodying
like they have
the haircuts?
A very retro
vibe.
Yeah. They're using a lot of retro equipment in this session. I think it's actually their concert set that
it's a session
did without an audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry. Something that stands out to me, I guess, about this, there's so many things, but they're really, you can feel that they're feeling the music. There's no other influence around them other than each other. So it's kind of exciting to watch them,
feed off of each other's energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if as long as you're watching it, and I think visually it's so important that you do watch it, because it just, I don't know, you can feel what they're feeling in some capacity, right?
That's not one where I can walk away, because it was so intriguing, like, and intimate, and the way to watch them, and like watching their fingers, like, it was just, I don't know, it was cool. It was so cool to watch.
Some of those riffs are very simple, but they have this like disco repetitive. There is something techno about what they're doing, and I would say a lot of that is because of the drummer. He is exactly on the pocket,
like setting the pace.
Yeah. And we were talking a couple weeks ago about how some pop music is off of the pocket on purpose to make it sound more human, but they're doing the exact opposite. They're like human robots, hitting every note at the exact right time, and hitting every hi-hat at the right time, which is really impressive to watch. It looks exhausting, not gonna lie.
Truly.
Yeah,
that's one of my notes.
The drums?
That it's, I can't play an instrument, but to watch them play for an hour straight in such a, like, the word that I just have written in all caps is just clean, because it literally is like one note to the next and nothing is out of place. Like, they are all so well practiced. So to me, it looks like it's insane. It looks exhausting to me, because there's no, I don't know, it just doesn't, there's no, they're not even real, but they are relaxed at the same time. They look very effortless, but it's extremely impressive.
The bassist, like, kind of doing this, and he's like eyes closed, but he's doing it really intense.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, I mean, their harmonies, I think even down to the harmonies, there's no fluctuation or variation in the way they're singing. So it sounds like one voice, but with harmony, which is impossible.
But they're doing it.
Somebody at the church once said that he had a dream. He was in heaven and he could sing a 4-part harmony by himself, and we all laughed. It was but like, that's what I imagine heaven is. Like,
it's true.
You can do anything like
you
that.
can do anything. That's so funny. Yeah, to me, like, it actually just makes my ears happy to listen to that. If that's how I could describe it. One of the songs, I was looking at the notes, one of the songs, Your Fault, is, I could play that in my brain all day long. Like, it's beautiful. Like, I could loop that and just walk around.
Is that the one where there's like a really long stretch?
Yes.
That you have to listen to in order to get there?
Yeah.
I have to do the work because I love that song so much. I will go back and I'll listen to the,
Yeah.
Is it where like the piano's falling? It's like,
I don't think so, actually. Maybe not.
I think it happens a little bit before that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's quite a stretch of time that you have to work for to get to Your Fault.
It's a pretty jazzy. It's like, it has a pretty jazzy feel, if I were to describe it. And then the other ones was like Tied Up Right Now. I already knew before you put me on them, but it was really cool to listen to them do it live. Again, with the harmonies, like, that was just so cool. And then Your Fault, and then Close to Why was my last one too. They were just beautiful. And
I'm so amazed that you chose those songs, because those are my 2 most visited songs because of...
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard the poppy ones that I mean, they all kind of sound pretty similar, but
They
when
do.
they do a stripped back song, like Close to Why, oh no, I guess Close to Why is kind of like everything else they have, but there's something about it that they have a beautiful second verse in that song that I love. Anyway,
It just feels like
just
you're
amazed that you have the same preference in song there.
I know, because usually we're on a different vibe sometimes with like you liking more upbeat, I'm liking more slow, but those ones really stood out to me. They're so nice. And it just feels like they're just friends who love to jam together, and like you just walked in on one of their hangouts or something, but they're extremely well practiced and it's perfect to the nose. But yeah.
Did I tell you about that? There was an Instagram post I saw from some music sharing
You did.
account.
Yeah.
Like they're playing the video of them like playing these songs, and one of the comments says like all their pants fit perfectly.
No, perfectly. Like their shirts are tucked in, not a crease, not a belt
I don't
buckle.
know why I love that
everything.
so much.
It's true. Hair, like everything done.
The one guy
Eyebrow
with his mustache.
Yes, like they're like.
But only one guy has a mustache, so it's a statement.
I don't know how they look so good, so
it's a really
clean.
fun one to listen to.
Yeah,
that's number 2 for me.
that's awesome. Like it is a beaut. Okay, this one is my last pick. All right, Sims, my girl. I picked. Okay, let me like introduce it properly. I picked Little Sims. I picked her tiny desk, and Sims is my absolute girl. Like I have become a super fan over the past, I think.
Sims head?
Yeah, I get. Is that what they're calling them these days? Over the past, I'd say year and a half, I've become such a super fan, and she is one of my favorite artists right now. I saw her live this year on Thanksgiving, and it was the best decision ever to skip my Thanksgiving and go to this concert because it was the best concert I've been to. She put on the most amazing show. The vibes were lit. Like she was dancing the entire time. The whole crowd was just like whining, like vibing.
Yeah.
It was just like so much fun. I think she's one of the best rappers of our generation, period. Like not best female rapper, not any of the, like she is one of the best. And
that is I think that's a good take. Can I
please
jump in for 1 second?
Yeah.
I have never heard another British female rapper.
Period. Yeah. There are, but like
there are, and maybe I have, but I don't remember
them.
them. She is memorable.
She is the most unique sound that I've heard in the past couple of years, like from someone of our generation, like the most unique sound, jazzy, reggae, like Nigerian, like Afro beats,
Her accent
everything.
makes it like hard too. It's just so gangster.
It is like she is swag and the cool, like,
but without being like aggressive,
cocky, not aggressive. She's still she's still feminine. She's still soft,
that's
but
exactly
like,
what I mean.
yeah, but so much confidence. And man, I've been watching interviews. She's been on the scenes for like over 10 years since she was a kid, since she was like an early teenager, like 10 years old, doing performances and things like that. Like she is well seasoned for being so young.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
No, me either. But yeah, so this is her tiny desk that I picked, and specifically the song that I love the most is Woman. That there's a couple clips that went viral of her from her tiny desk doing this one, but it's so impressive. I can just hear in that song and the other ones, I can hear like Lauryn Hill, I can hear Nina Simone, I can hear some of her like biggest influences.
100%.
Just the energy that she puts off is so, I don't know, it's so amazing to me.
Yeah.
Also big fashion inspo, like man, she's just the coolest.
Okay, the dreads in 3 different knots is amazing.
Her locks are beautiful, like beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah. So she's performing from her album, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, and that is to me, that is like a start to finish, like front to back album. I think it should have won Best Rap Album from 2021 because I can listen to it top to bottom and it's like, it's masterful. It's so impressive that she's so young. It doesn't make sense to me because like the detail orientedness and the orchestra and like in the
So
actual
chill. She's able to like, she just brings it down all the way
Yeah.
sometimes, which I think
Yeah.
is so hard to do. I think
Yes.
that is so hard to go from bum, bum,
like
to
horn, like vibes, energy to right back down low, and like it's just her voice.
yeah.
Yeah, her lyrics is like she's so poetic. If you listen to those lyrics, the one I listened to,
I just got goosebumps you talking about this.
yeah, I love her. I listened to the Spotify one where they dissect Introvert, the song, and man, the lyrics are crazy. Like, it's really intentional. So,
Yeah.
Woman from that performance is my favorite. It's such an empowering and beautiful song, and that's my favorite part of that performance. But the whole thing is a vibe.
I think this is like part of the home thing that they did on for the Tiny Desks, which is most of them are really good, but some of them kind
Some
of
of them are
miss
not
because,
good.
yeah, I don't know if the mix is weird or what's going on.
Their
Or,
setup.
It's also true that to be able to have big shows, which most of these artists that feature on Tiny Desk have these big shows, then they bring it to a small setting with less equipment and all these things. Their true colors are revealed. They do a really good job at NPR to mic people up and
Set them up well.
Yeah, and they sound really good. I don't know what that process is like for their home series, but
Not a clue.
it's obviously slightly different depending on the equipment that they have. But they have so much more freedom.
Yes.
And the freedom that, like, the way that she took advantage of this freedom was so cool. Like,
Yes.
I love where people are placed.
The video angles where they're like taking advantage of, like, she's sitting on the couch and the camera's coming in towards her. Like, there's movement where there wouldn't normally be if they were doing it at the location.
I don't know why I have written down that the opening to I Love You, I Hate You is electric. I guess maybe the beat is just
It is electric.
So hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I mean, it was a true pleasure revisiting this one because I think I had only heard her music through. I've discovered her through this Tiny Desk first of all, and
This is also her second Tiny Desk, may I add, and her first one is when she's much younger.
Right, I was so confused by that. I was like,
Yeah.
did I hear the old one? I hadn't. It was this one.
No, I don't even think
discovered.
I've heard the first one, but I know she's done another one way earlier on.
So I'm kind of bad though because most of the time when I listen to her, I always listen to those. Is it 3 or 4 songs that she does? Is it 4? I think it's 4.
4, yeah.
Those are the ones that I have to hear.
They're amazing.
When I want to hear her voice, it's those songs that I go to. So
I would pick those ones too. They're so sick. In the album, they're really good. The beat's hard, like always.
that first song is something out of a movie, dude. Like,
For real, the orchestra is insane. And then she brings it down, and it's still a vibe, and like her message is powerful. It's really cool.
and like
could go all
most
day.
Tiny Desks, you'll be like, the next song that's coming up, you're like, I don't love this one as much.
Yeah.
I might skip it. If you're
Not
a
the case in
frequent
this one.
Tiny Desk listener, you might do that. But you have to listen to the whole thing every time for this one.
I know, it's true. Yeah.
I love it. I'm so happy you picked that because, and you know what? Hot take that album of the year, but maybe, right? What else came out in 2021?
Bro, I'd have to look back, but like in terms of
it's
all
so
around,
deserving. It is so, that album is incredible.
and not just like best new artist, new upcoming artist, like just it's masterful from start to finish. Like in terms of all of the aspects that you would look at, I think that it's really powerful. I'm gonna now look back at 2021 and see what came out. Oh my gosh, I'm getting really excited.
Yeah. Like, what did this lose to?
Yeah, for real. Like, did Drake put something out that won instead? Like, what? I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, that's my pick, and Sims is my great. There were so many Tiny Desks that I really had to
sift through
to like decide what would go, but that one just stood out to me the most. I really had to like go with my gut. Yeah.
So fun to revisit that. I freaking loved it. Okay. Last pick.
Let's get into it.
We have Kanye and the Sunday Service Choir in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
This is released by like some random YouTube account.
But thank God for them. Like,
honestly, and it's like filmed really nice,
beautifully.
Yeah.
Maybe
so I don't know how they pulled that off. Maybe it was supposed to be this way. Like it probably was supposed to be released by this guy. Otherwise, it would have been taken down.
Yeah.
I think I'm just spitting randomness right now, but
yeah.
So starting off, I found this before I became a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really the first time that I had listened to gospel music in a way where I was like super open-minded, and, you know, a lot of the time music from the church is not loved by everyone. Right. And it's also, I immediately wanted to show more people this concert. It's another concert.
It's a completely different style of gospel music. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the concept that I believe Kanye had for this is that to bring popular music to the church, and you can change it to make it, you know, for God and not
it's
for
still worship. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So he does.
They do covers.
The first one that we all discover from this concert is "Ballin" by Roddy Ricch, which, what do they call it? Lord knows I'm ballin'. It's hilarious that they changed the name and everything. It's so funny,
and yet still it's like appropriate and hard, and the lyrics still hit. It's just funny.
Yeah. And I think every song that they play, it just like excites me again, because I couldn't believe this could be done.
Exactly.
And it leaves me wondering, how many people were brought to Christ from this exact?
Totally.
Not saying that I was fully brought there from this, but
it opened my eyes a little bit.
It opened my eyes, 100% for me too. And then you
makes
kind of
it more approachable.
Yeah, like, and you look at the world in a different lens, and and now I just wish, having experienced like singing in a church choir, I wish that we could embody this feeling, because it is powerful. It's electric. It is so fun. They are. Like the way they clap, there's no rules to how they're clapping.
No, the movement.
There's really no rules.
The body language.
And I think for a lot of people, they might struggle to communicate with a higher power. And for me, I've always felt like that I do that through music, whether it's through listening to it or making it myself. But that's where I feel the most connected, is through music. So kind of seeing this door open through this concert was, it felt very natural, I guess. But overall, I don't have a lot to say about the music. I think it's just something you have to experience for yourself to really understand.
I agree.
And, you know, they do like a Benny and the Jets cover.
I know. There's so many covers that you're not expecting, and it's so cool.
What was the one that really got me?
I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember what the real song is called.
I wrote it down and I can't see it.
It's like Glory Box or something that they have written down, but it's not the real song. Yeah, it was an unexpected cover for me.
Why can't I? I definitely wrote it down. I can't find it.
Just take a minute.
Okay. Pause.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, If You Believe. It's because of how I wrote it.
Okay.
It's just, it looks like it blends into another sentence.
Yeah.
If You Believe. How does that go again? And is it a Bee Gees song?
Like, if you believe. I don't remember that song. That's the only If You Believe I can. Oh.
If you believe.
Oh. Oh, that's Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, yes. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Goosebumps.
That's not. It's not that song. That's not what it's called. If you believe.
I think that's just what they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great cover.
And it's just one example. You could listen to the whole thing and you'll find songs and
that you love,
recognizable melodies that you love.
Yeah.
And then to offer it all, you can see them. I think this really displays the power of individuals worshiping, but as a collective. So they're individually speaking to God,
and you can see it.
They're all together.
Yes.
It creates this energy that everybody in the building can feel, whether you're a Christian or not.
I literally can't imagine being in that room with the energy. I think it would actually be a life-changing experience. Also, I don't know if it's like when you go and see a play and it's supposed to be quiet, but why is the crowd not giving anything at all?
I think they are. It's just hard to tell.
I don't think they are.
They're definitely clapping with them.
They clap at the end of the song. They just clap at the end of the song.
I think they get excited.
Not this lamp light going out.
Oh, I thought something turned on.
Literally, the light bulb just died. Well, the video's still good, so here we are.
Not the main light, is it?
I mean, yeah, like I just lost a light bulb, but
it's not your main light.
No. Just there's a lamp behind me.
Oh, it's
this is the setup that we're working with, guys. We have many bloopers this episode.
I don't know. I think when's the last time you watched it? Did you really watch it recently?
Last night.
Last night. I thought the crowd was like stoked.
I wasn't getting that. I was getting a lot of like.
Really?
like play vibes but I also
okay, maybe I need to pay more attention to that. It's I mean I barely focused on it, I guess.
Me either, but it's an hour long, so eventually I'm like, okay, let me just see what the crowd's up to. Like obviously the vibes are lit like on the inner circle, but after like 45 minutes I'm like, but where is everybody though? But I think when
they do ballin', the crowd goes wild.
That might be an example of when it does like build up. But if it were me, I would. But I also think that it might be where we can't have everybody singing and cheering along because it would. I think it's more of like a performance where it's not like a concert style where everybody's jumping in and cheering and like singing along. They're not like, here, take the. I think it's more like you're witnessing the performance, and so it might. I think they might have. I feel as though there might have been. There. Really? Okay.
Yeah, just because like in the church. Whenever I go, everybody wants the crowd to be more engaged.
Yeah.
Never less. So that's always kind of how I've perceived it.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Maybe it's like, okay, when you walk in there, be quiet and listen.
I wonder if like Kanye
would encourage it.
Okay. I just wonder if Kanye set that standard of like, because I wasn't seeing energy and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So I wonder if Kanye set that standard of like, okay, this is... enjoy what you're watching.
Am I allowed to look at this while we're recording?
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I feel like it would be worth kind of diving a little bit deeper for a second.
Yeah. I mean, everyone is beautiful. I just feel like the room smells like shea butter and like that's how I feel. Like it's just gorgeous black people absolutely having the time of their life. My favorites is Faithful to the End, Paradise when they do the Paradise cover by Jeremiah. More Than Anything, Father Stretch My Hands, and Ballin'.
Yeah.
It's all incredible, and it's like a consistent go-to for me, but yeah.
Yeah, they do really nice transitions. So I every time I listen to this, it's usually from front to back again. I can't absorb, unless it's Ballin', I can't absorb anything if I don't watch the whole thing through. I also love the progression. It does like increase in energy throughout.
Agreed.
And we're talking about a single piano and a room full of voices.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still getting that rhythm again, like the Alicia Keys situation.
Totally.
You know, and I think that's so cool to be able to feel it without a drum beat.
Yeah, well, they're like setting it too, and they're like, "Hey, hey!" Like when you can, that's setting a tone too and setting a beat. So
it's
you're bouncing.
Those things where they're straying from the the plan,
Yeah.
that makes me think that it can't be too structured, you know?
Well, I don't know if they're straying from a plan. I think that that's planned.
Well,
I think
here's
that's all
your moment to
rehearsed.
freestyle for sure. But
Yeah, vocally, I think that's rehearsed. But then I think they're like dancing and vibing. I think that's freestyle. But like those
I
are
don't know why I'm
planned.
so hung up on this. It's not even a.
The A's are planned. Like they're not just that would be off. They would be offbeat.
Well, I think they're just all rhythmically
Yeah,
skilled, so they wouldn't mess it up anyway. There's so many claps that
It's
happen
true.
that seem so unintentional because
Okay.
they're so quiet that I think there's a lot of it
Us
where
debating
it's just
this?
like you just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And sing your heart out and give it all to God. That's what I think.
yeah, and like they trust. I just think Kanye is such a detail oriented person that I don't trust that any of it is just like improv.
I don't know if we're gonna come back to this.
That's fine.
I don't know if it dies here. We might have to revisit
Mm-hmm.
this.
I'm gonna go watch it after this, but that's how I feel.
I don't know why this is so funny.
It is.
Yeah. Did you say not us arguing about the structure, or what did you say?
I said not us arguing about this, like
Oh yeah,
full debate. It's about time that we had a debate, though. We agree on too many things.
you're right. Okay, this maybe I really want people to be engaged to some capacity. So if you're if you're still with us
Please.
after an hour and 8 minutes,
Yeah.
please go watch it. Let us know. Are the people into it? Are they?
Tell
not
me that
into
I'm
it?
right.
Wow. I feel like if I'm more defensive, the less people will be on my side. So I'm going to end
It's
it there.
true. So true.
So
Oh my god.
I love it.
Wow. That's a great way to end, though. I think that's both of our favorites for sure.
Yeah, I think so. You say that you revisit this all the time too, right?
And the Miami one too.
Ooh, the Miami one. I think I have listened to them all, but it's
The Paris is totally the best, but there's a Miami one too, and it's really good.
Where else? Oh, they did Coachella. Right?
Yeah, they did all kinds. The
What a
Easter
cool
one.
little thing. I waited to watch that live stream because I wanted to see like, what they would do
When
At
it
the
was
top of that
regular,
perfectly grassy hill. Oh,
when it was regular, I was like tuning in, and also when they put out their album, I was like so excited.
because they were doing
They were doing it
an
regularly.
actual Sunday service.
Yeah, when Kanye was like family oriented and
This might be super obvious. I know he's like had a huge like he's connected with them in a lot of ways, but do you know anything about how they were formed? Is he responsible for bringing them together? I'm not 100% sure on that.
that's a really good question. I think
Cuz who's that guy? Jason.
the actual lead director of it,
I think he's worked with Kanye
choir
a lot.
director. Yeah, I feel like there's, because it's such a big group of people, I think that there's pockets of it that existed previously,
Yeah.
and then I feel like the collective came together by him.
Have you heard the Easy on Me cover in the Warehouse?
Probably. Oh yes, yeah, the Adele. Like yes, I have. That's
With like the kids laughing in the background.
yes.
It is glorious.
And there's
We've given a lot for people to listen to today, but go listen to that as well.
I'm also like kind of such a gatekeeper in my heart where some of this I'm like I'm giving away all of my favorites, but I have to let that go and just share the best stuff. Sometimes I'm a gatekeeper of like, I'm gonna keep some of these to myself. I need to cut it out.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be like stoked to talk to somebody about these things. I think so.
Well, sometimes I think I'm just talking to you and I forget that we're gonna share it with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So I'm fine
Yeah,
to share it with friends, but yeah.
True. That guy Robbie who posted that video needs
He needs a shout out.
he's getting a shout out because that video should go to 1 billion.
I also need to know if he was there. I have some questions for him.
I also want to know if his name is actually Robbie. Robbie is the guy who posted the video.
We're rambling.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for listening. This was super fun to research, and
This was really fun.
I was so happy to see what you chose because I had a blast listening to these songs.
The
and
feeling's
sessions.
mutual.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
fun.
All right.
Till next time.
Till next time. We'll be back next week.
Peace out.
Peace. The fact that I lost a light bulb.